So in yesterday's Paint Talk, I came here with the intention of discussing freedom, right? I want to discuss freedom in art. Freedom is just a concept. And I ended up talking so much more about my fears than freedom. And I think that's really interesting because I do see those things as the inverse. Actually, when you guys sent in fear and otherization, shout out Gage Steffens, by the way, for today's topic, and freedom as two topics you guys want to see discussed, I was like, I purposefully want to put these next to each other because I do feel that freedom and fear are sort of the inverse of each other. Like, I think when you think of fear, you think that, like, the opposite of fear might be, I don't know, like a state of contentness or a state of, like, comfortability. And I don't think that's true because I think that, well, I guess it depends specifically on what you mean by the word opposite, but I do believe that there is, like, an inherent inverse relationship between freedom and fear. Namely, that fear stops you so hard from being free. And fear is such an interesting topic, right? Because it's like fear is a good thing, right? In a regard, fear is somewhat objectively a good thing because it stops you from dying, right? Like, as in layman's terms, like, that's what fear is capable of. Fear will stop you from crossing the road when there is a bunch of cars there going 70 miles an hour at rush hour, you know, because you're scared to do that. Like, fear is one of those things where it's like a natural survival instinct, and that makes it good, but it also manifests itself in all these ways that, like, can really be bad. Namely, which, shout out Gage Steffens for today's topic, he listed it in the topic of, like, otherization. You know, like, otherization is a way of fear that happens that ends up with you shutting out, you know, maybe it's a whole group of people or a whole set of ideas because you believe these ideas are inherently different than you or whatever, for whatever reason. I think I'm sure there's a lot of reasons you could come up with why that happens. It's like, if I believe, which this is something I said yesterday, that I believe, like, the natural state of man is a free state and we will do anything necessary to enact that state, right? I believe that, right? That's my own little thing that I've always believed. If I want to say that, though, inherently, there is a regard in which, like, we must naturally filter ourselves from being free with our own fear. I guess, though, the freedom to filter yourself through your own fear is still freedom, right? Because it's not somebody else filtering you. Like, that's a weird thing, right? I think this would happen in school a lot, for me at least, where it was like, when you tell me to read this book, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to read this book. But now I read all those books just because I feel like it's my own decision. And I feel like freedom and fear kind of work like that, where it's like, if you tell me I need to go on this big roller coaster I'm scared of, I'm going to be all like, nah, this is bad, you know, I'm going to put up a fight because I'm scared of it. But if I can naturally come around to it on my own, I won't be scared and I'll see this as a very normal, natural thing I'm doing. I'm just getting on this roller coaster. Having the freedom of your own choice certainly makes fear seem like it's in your control, right? I think when it comes to art, actually this is relevant to me right now because I'm working on this project where it's like, it's more personal than most things I've ever done. It'll be on the main channel eventually. Maybe not for a long time. It's a big project. It's one of the bigger ones I've ever set out to do. And, you know, it's one of those projects where, like, it really forces you to look inwards when you're making it. And I feel like I have been going so much slower on it because I'm scared to explore that in my own, within art, you know what I mean? I'm scared to sort of like hit those crevices that I know I'll have to hit for this project to work the way I want it to, the way I'm imagining it. And, like, it's leading to almost an otherizing of, like, myself within this project. And I hope this is making sense. I think I'm getting a little bit insider baseball since I'm talking about just my own project I'm working on here. But it's a real thing I've been going through. It's one of the places where I've been experiencing fear from creating a lot. And I think that's the weird thing about fear, right? Is like, at least statistically, like the demographic that's watching this is probably like a middle class American demographic, right? That's like the standard YouTube watch audience. And I feel like we're in such a weird place with it, where like so many people, weird place with fear, where so many people haven't ever felt true fear. Like I'm talking about like, you know, like this is a life or death situation kind of fear. I feel like so many people haven't. I know myself growing up from this background, maybe twice in my life I felt that. And like on the one hand, you know, that's such a good thing that that's happening, because imagine all the generations of your family before you, how happy they'd be knowing that you live a life where you don't experience much fear. But there's also, you know, fear is one of those emotions that like we all have as sort of this survival instinct. It's one of like, fear is almost like hunger, where it's just like, it's a part of being human. It's a part of living. And a little paint refill going on here. And because of that, like it feels like, as great as it is that we don't feel fear anymore, it almost feels like we're like giving up something, right? And this is why I'm such an advocate of like, you know how like people will go like, your bad thoughts aren't you, like you're separate from your thoughts. I'm such an advocate of going like, no, I want, like the bad thoughts are you. Because I think even these negative things, these things that you don't want to go through, they're so important because they're part of being human. Like being human is not just this like cool, good thing all the time. I think fear is a huge part of that, where it's like we should, like it feels like we're disconnected. Thinking about how little of like our actual things we go through, I feel like those fat people in Wall-E, you know what I mean? And then it's like, being those fat people in Wall-E is kind of the goal though at the same time. You know, we all want to put our feet up and just be like happy. And like I feel like so many people, that's their goal. When I ask my friends, what do you want to do? They name a high-paying job because they go, I can retire the fastest with this. You know, everyone just wants to put their feet up at the end of the day. But then, like, when it comes to this place where, like, societally, talking in terms of first world middle America, right? Where we have come to this place where we, like, generationally have been able to put our feet up, where we don't experience the fear of war, of like strife, or any of these things. It's like, it almost feels like something's missing. And I think it's almost akin to like retirement, where I know so many people have told me like, oh, once they retire, like life gets so much harder to live because it feels like they don't have a purpose anymore, you know? That's why I love Albert Camus, because he works into his meaning of life that like struggle and hardship is like a part of this. It's a necessary, important part of it. You know, you can't have life without, or you can't have light without darkness, and you can't have an interesting life without having a boring one. And in that regard, it's like maybe all this is good that we have to work and all that stuff. I guess that's a whole different tangent though. And I think like the main place though in which, you know, removing this conversation from this sort of primal fear that is missing from modern day life, I feel like there is an angle in which everybody experiences real fear now, especially with how divided things have become, sort of like this intellectual fear and otherization that goes on, where it's like, you know, I won't listen to that person because they have this set of beliefs. Like I'm scared of these people. And this exists on all sides, everywhere I see it. Where it's like you think of, you know, actually Andrew Callahan does these like documentaries or whatever. I've never actually watched one of his videos. I know nothing about him, and I'm scared to quote him because anytime I've quoted somebody on this show, there's always a comment like, that guy's actually Hitler, just so you know. So hopefully I'm clean on this one. If not, remember guys, at least I'm not quoting somebody I know is bad. At least I'm quoting people who I've never researched before. But anyways, he was on this podcast, and he goes around just like interviewing these odd groups, I suppose. Like I think that's the gist of it from what I gather. And he said something so interesting where it was like, most people like genuinely want to help you. Like most people, like especially with all the crazy ideas going around today. Like I saw this video the other day of somebody explaining how microwaves were put in our house as like this way to like invade all of our homes with like atomic radiation that they're eventually going to activate in like an Order 66 Star Wars type way to like rise up and take us, right? Like the microwaves are going to come to life. Somebody was earnestly making a video on the internet about this, and like that guy is thinking like this is important, good info that people need, right? Like there's way more people out there who are like, I have these fringe beliefs, I have these ideas that are genuinely going to help people than any sort of beliefs that are like, I'm not like, they have the best of intentions, no matter how insane they might seem, talking about these microwaves. Like this man is making this video earnestly believing that like, oh, you know, Max Tyson's gonna watch this video and be like, thank God I'm gonna get rid of my microwave now. Obviously not me specifically, I mean more so like the viewer in general is gonna watch it and be like, thank God I can get rid of my microwave and save my life. You know, he's thinking that, making this, and it's so interesting of like, I feel, have so much more otherization than ever. In terms of like beliefs and information, you know, we had this whole discussion the other day on the show about truth, the lack of consensus reality, all these things. And like with all this, we are otherizing each other's beliefs maybe more than ever. I don't know. I wasn't around during the Cold War. I'm sure that was a contender. That seemed pretty rough. But in my short life, we're otherizing each other's beliefs way more than ever before. And it's like, I feel like we're forgetting that everyone's so well-intentioned. Like, even if you were in the middle of the Cold War and you went to the other side and they were trying to recruit you, it's because they genuinely believe they got the right way of doing things over there. And that's just so interesting to me of like, why is it that like when there's so much in the world to be afraid of, we choose each other? You know what I mean? That's something I can't help but wonder sometimes. Wondering myself too. Like I'm not immune. I walk on the street sometimes and I see somebody and I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared right now because maybe they got a gun. Like, you know, we all do these things. And on the one hand, it's because on the news, of course, we see so much stuff going down these days. It's all crazy. But on the other hand, it's like this sort of very just bad thing I think we all got this tendency to do of just otherizing each other and being like, they fundamentally have different ideals than me, or they're just bad. You know, so often these days I feel like I hear people go, they're just crazy. Nobody's just crazy, you know what I mean? Well, some people are definitely just crazy. We've seen Kanye's Twitter recently. But like, it's not that simple, I feel like. I feel like that's such a way to dismiss actually engaging with something that you're scared of engaging with for one reason or another. And I'm not saying that like any idea you're scared of engaging with is right. You know, that's where that real fear does come back. Some ideas are dangerous. Racism is an idea. Racism's pretty dangerous, you know? Like there are some very dangerous ideas, but by not engaging with them, it almost feels like you give them more power over you than if you could go, no, I've thought about that and I don't agree with it for X, Y, and Z, you know? And then you could actually maybe work to have people believe in your ideas too. You know, like there's so many directions you could go with that. And I feel like fear is just this massive sort of lump holding us all back. And I feel worse than ever about it right now because we don't have to feel it at all anymore and we've choose to make it about each other. Sorry, that went a million directions and got way too deep. I hope that was okay. This is the painting. It is a spire and a dome. It's also actually from, because yesterday I was talking about a book I wrote. This is also architecture from another book I wrote. Maybe I should include like the reference images for these, because I think I like seeing them painted. Like these look cooler than I remember. So I actually kind of like this one a lot. Not to, you know, toot my own horn. I always feel bad. I feel worse when I like one of these paintings than when I don't, because then I got to be like, guys, I know it's bad, but I actually like this one. And that's how I feel about this one. It's like, I know this isn't like I know I'm not actually a good painter, but like I can't help but be like, man, this is nice to look at. But But anyways, let me just touch up that one area right there, and go check this out over on the Instagram, CNHD. Also, as I've said multiple times in these last couple ones, I do throw polls every now, or not polls, the little question box thing to see if you guys have any topics you'd like to see discussed on the show. So totally check out the Instagram for that reason as well. Let me know your thoughts down below on fear and otherization on today's conversation. Ooh, that rhymed. That was good. Fear and otherization on today's conversation. I couldn't make that a thing though, because I'm not always talking about otherization. I thought I just had a new little motif for the end of the videos. Unfortunately, it was a dead end, but until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 104. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.